de su canal de frecuencia modulada estereofónica multiplex, La Voz Radio, desde New Haven, Connecticut, al mundo.
Hello, and welcome to ¿Qué pasa? This is your host, Norma Rodriguez Reyes, and you are listening to us via WNHH 103.5 FM. And aside from turning on your radio, you can also go to your computer and you could put lavozhispanact.com, and you can also not only listen to us, but you'll also be able to see us. And we're also streaming live via newhavenindependent.org. Today we have with us in our studio audience a Carlos Sosa Lombardo, has an MPA, and he's director of the Prison Reentry Department for the city of New Haven. Carlos, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Norma. It's a great honor to be here.
Okay. So Carlos Sosa Lombardo is the director of the City of New Haven Prison Reentry Department. He oversees the project's Fresh Start Office, the Fresh Start Research Program, and the Fresh Start Pardons Support Program. The Prison Reentry Department facilitates the coordination of community partners, state agencies, and other reentry stakeholders to create a citywide, strategic, and systematic delivery of resources that lead to reduce
recidivism. Which means that the chances of people to reoffend, to commit another crime. So we try to prevent people from committing another crime and going back to jail and prisons.
Okay, that's what recidivism means. It also increases employment and housing opportunities, access to continued education, and the long-term self-sufficiency of returning citizens. Mr. Lombardo has a bachelor's degree in political science from the City University of New York College and a master's in public administration from New York University. And before joining the City of New Haven in December 2018, Carlo managed advocacy programs in New York and Connecticut for 6 years. Carlo, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Norma.
So it was great that recidivism, is that how you say it?
Yes, recidivism.
Recidivism. The tongue twister.
I know, right?
Okay, so tell me, what do you do at the City of New Haven?
Yeah, I think you gave a very well overall explanation. We try to help people the most we can by linking them to different service providers within the city of New Haven. I look to provide also technical support to organizations that want to help the population. Always with the ultimate goal of preventing people to reoffend and lowering the crime rates in the city.
Okay, so you have Fresh Start Office, you have Fresh Start Research Program, and Fresh Start Pardons. Tell us.
Yeah, so the Fresh Start Office is basically an informational hub. People will come in after incarceration. Once they're released in the city, they come to my office looking for different services around the city, different resources. We provide referrals for employment. We screen job listings every month to make sure that people have job leads once they're released. We have apartment listings. We connect people to mental health treatment providers, medical health treatment providers. If people have substance abuse issues, we do the best to connect them with services as well. And the way we do it is we administer an assessment, and we make sure to understand their needs before we match their referrals.
Okay, so how does an ex-prisoner, find out about this program that the city is offering?
Yeah. So we have actually gotten pretty good at establishing relationships with the Connecticut Department of Corrections. We send them information, which then they distribute to people that are returning home to New Haven.
Okay, so what kinds of crimes have the ex-prisoners committed that can be helped? Like,
It
Okay.
ranges. I mean, we help everybody. We don't look for specific crimes. We help people who, were released yesterday, but at the same time, we also help people who are still looking for support and they might have been released 10 years ago. So we help everybody. We also help people on probation, on parole.
Okay. So, what is the biggest barrier for people returning to the community?
They have a lot of barriers. So housing, employment, access to transportation, substance abuse, mental health, medical issues are the top challenges that people face when coming home. Just to give you an idea, over the past 3 years, 80% of the people that were released in the city had a substance abuse history. 25% had a history of mental illness. 30% have medical issues that requires access to nursing care. And, on top of that, we also have 64% of people who return home did not have a GED or high school diploma.
So, what is the age range of these individuals that you service?
Yeah, we service people 18 and up. What we have seen through the statistics is that mostly about 48% of the people returning home are in the age groups of 25 and 34 years old.
And what is the ethnic makeup of these individuals that come out of prison?
Yeah, so they mostly are black, followed by Hispanics and white people.
Okay. And how about in terms of their educational background?
So 64% do not have a GED or high school diploma, which hinders their ability to get a job, get employment after they are released. And oftentimes they only have access to low-paying jobs.
That makes it difficult. So what are the best reentry practices across the country?
We have seen through research a lot of models coming up. In California, we have seen one-stop shops being formed to centralize direct service providers. So, for instance, in Los Angeles, they just opened a reentry and opportunity center. It's a 60,000 square feet building where they house medical health, behavioral health. They house workforce developers, job developers, legal assistants, benefits assistants, a lot of a range of sectors that come together under one building, under one roof, so that people can have easy access to all these services instead of visiting one place after the other through referrals.
So where are the majority of these individuals housed in terms of housing for them?
So in my conversations with the CAN of Greater New Haven, about 40% of them, of people returning home, are in shelters today. But it depends. I would say some people live with their family. Some people might not have support of their family, so they resort to the shelters. Some people are return home under probation. Under parole, and they go to a halfway house for a limited amount of time up until they either get their own housing or finish parole.
Do you know if the city of New Haven or in the state, if they have like housing for permanent housing for individuals that are ex-prisoners?
So the state does not. The city, however, is ahead of the curve on it. There are about 30 Section 8 vouchers that are for people returning home for incarceration. There is also up to 16 public housing slots and that are set aside for people re-entering home. Re-entering the community.
So, what is the city of New Haven doing to improve services provision to the formerly incarcerated?
Yeah. So historically, the city has actually been great about servicing the people. First of all, it's the first city in the whole state to have a reentry initiative. We are pioneers in this sector. The city has applied for several federal grants throughout the years that have implemented evidence-based practices to help individuals return home and reintegrate society. Today, we are exploring applying for more grants, but at the same time, we want to be mindful about having a strategic plan that can help us have sustainability over the years and create more tangible opportunities for people returning home.
Yeah, because we were mentioning how we were trying to figure out how do we say reentry program in Spanish for our next program right after this one. And you mentioned how it's hard to come up with how to say it because in our countries, these programs don't exist.
Right. Right, and even in this country, most of the cities do not have a reentry office or a reentry department. In this state, in Connecticut, only 3 cities today have a reentry initiative. One of them is Hartford, and the other one is Bridgeport.
And the three major cities in New Haven, right?
Yeah.
That has the highest concentrations of Hispanics.
Yeah.
In terms of what is the reentry roundtable?
Yeah, so the Reentry Roundtable is a network of service providers, people with lived experience, people who are returning home for incarceration, and activists, advocates that come together to share information and create plans for advocacy at the state level.
Okay. Now, do you believe that maybe what is the perception out there in terms of being able to find employment for the ex-prisoners because of the stigma that once a criminal, always a criminal. So what is that the stigma still out there? And if not, can you give me an example of a company or someone that really stretches out their hands to these individuals?
Employment is a huge barrier for people returning home. I would say about 3/4 of the people who come through my office are unemployed. There was a research done by an organization called Just House. They found out through surveys that about 60% of people returning home in New Haven say it is hard to find a job. So that gives you an idea of the problem, Over the last 3 years, we had over 2,800 people returning home. So just imagine 60% are having a hard time finding jobs.
2,800 a year?
2,800, no, over the 3 years.
Over the 3 years?
Aggregate numbers, yes.
So 2,800 is
So
that?
it's about 942 people returning home every year,
Okay.
on average.
Every single year. Okay. So what are some of the agencies or businesses that are considered to be, prison reentry friendly?
Yeah. Some organizations that come on the top of my head are unions, labor unions. They're usually pretty good at accepting people into their apprenticeship programs. People go into an apprenticeship with a salary as a union member with benefits. Also, there's what we call fair chance employers. They
First or
fair.
Fair, FAIR.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, fair chance employers. So those employers include Amazon, Team Chipotle, Restaurant Depot. There are a few local small businesses that also we work with usually.
Are there incentives for the companies to hire ex-prisoners?
Yes, that's a great question, and we are actually trying to get better at informing businesses about the benefits they get. There is something called the Work Opportunity Tax Credit. The federal government provides tax credits for people who hire individuals that have a criminal background.
Okay. So how can people get involved with the reentry work in New Haven?
Yeah, I think advocating for better policies and more funding in reentry is good. A lot of the focus over the last years have been, reforming prison, reforming what's happening inside the facilities. But I think we have to start thinking about when people return home and providing them with opportunities so that they don't go back. They don't go back to prison, right?
Yeah, that's definitely. And I think also, like you said, informing the businesses that that there are incentives for them if they become, friendly towards the ex-prisoners. Do you have a success story that your organization has helped, or what are some of the success stories?
Yeah, I mean, we have people who have found jobs thanks to us. We also have our pardon support program where we help people complete their pardon application to get their records expunged. And it's key. That is key many times in finding better employment and better opportunities in society. We have had many people who have gotten pardons thanks to our support. And actually, I want to invite people to come to our office to, if you are trying to get your pardon application complete and you're stuck, we provide one-on-one support. We take walk-ins every day. We also have workshops every other week. Our next workshop is on February 5th at 3:30 in the City Hall. So if people feel that they want to complete their pardon and they cannot afford paying a lawyer, we are there for them. We're there to provide that support.
So tell us, what does the pardon do?
So the pardon basically seals, not erases, it seals the record, the criminal record of a person. So by the time that, I apply for a job and they run a background record on me, they won't be able to see it.
Okay. Now, on that application, must you write that you were in prison, or that you, or how does that work?
The pardon process?
No, like, for instance, let's just suppose, for the sake of argument, that we did get a pardon, that the person did get a pardon. Now, when they're filling out an application and, they ask you about your criminal background, do you have to state it there, or how does that work?
Yes, you have to state it. I mean, I will never encourage people to lie. There are, however, some companies that have a bandbox policy that do not have that requirement, and I think most companies in the States are good about it. But at the same time, they also run background records. They don't ask you about your criminal record, but they do run background records.
Sure. Well, I guess maybe the best thing for them would probably be if they do ask you about criminal history, they can probably say had one, but I've been pardoned.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
of that. So is there anything else that you feel that we need to know about this program that you run?
Yeah, I think that, just giving a call to the faith community, to advocates in the community, to come together and advocate for policies post-incarceration. I think switching that focus from what's happening inside the facilities to, hey, let's start helping people who come out so that we prevent them from going back, I think it's going to be key, especially for New Haven, where the reoffense rate is at 75%.
What is that, 75%?
75% of people who are released in the city of New Haven are likely to reoffend, to commit another crime and go back to prison.
75%.
Yes.
And that's a big percentage. And how much does it cost for 1 year in prison?
It's $24,000 is the marginal cost per prisoner.
Yeah, that's like because I've heard some places $50,000.
Yeah, I mean, if we take into consideration salaries and just what is the cost, including administrative costs of the Department of Corrections, is around $65,000 a year. But the marginal saving per prisoner is $24,000.
24,000.
Yeah.
Well, folks, you've been listening to WNHH 103.5 FM. Carlos Sosa Lombardo, and he's the director of the Prison Reentry department for the city of New Haven, and he basically has been talking to us about individuals that now have an opportunity to get that have gotten out of prison and what is available for them so that they don't have to go back to prison. Different programs, and obviously one of the main things is employment. And as he mentioned, there are incentives out there for the different businesses so that they can hire individuals that have just come out of prison.
Right, and I also want to add, there is a tax credit, but there is also something called the federal bonding, which the federal government, if you hire a person who have a criminal record, they give you a bond, I think up to $10,000 to protect your assets. So that in the case that, say, the person who you hired steals from you, that bond is gonna cover the.
So that's like an
losses.
insurance.
Yes, it's an insurance.
It's an insurance. It's $10,000 insurance to make sure that you're okay. You'll be okay.
Yeah.
And hopefully, I know life is tough, and it's not only a job that they need. They need a whole bunch of, housing.
Other needs.
Housing and jobs, I think, are the two, and then mental health, and then especially if, like you mentioned, individuals with mental and also with substance abuse issues. It's not easy. It's not an easy life for them.
Right.
Right. But then again, it's really good that the city of New Haven does have this program that can help them out.
I mean, everybody deserves a second chance. Everybody, we are not God to judge anybody. So if you are walking into my office, and I invite you to do, if you need help, we're going to do our best to help you out.
Okay. And where is your office located?
It's located at the City Hall. It's the first office. As you enter the City Hall, it's the first office on the right side.
On the right?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So, is it, because I remember the office on the right-hand side, isn't that where you pay your tax? I mean, not your taxes, your fines for your car?
I think it used to be, because some people get confused about it when they came in. So yeah, now it's the Project Fresh Start office.
Okay, great. Well, folks, you've been listening to Que Pasa, and Carlos Sosa Lombardo, Director of Prison Reentry Department. If any of you have any comments or any suggestions, Carlos' office is open right there in City Hall, 165 Church Street in New Haven, Connecticut. Carlos, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you, Norma. It was a great honor to be here and share what we're doing here in the city.
It's important to educate our community. Thank you so much. Just want to remind you all once again that you're listening to Norma Rodriguez Reyes in your show, Que Pasa? Health, money, and love, and plenty of time to enjoy it. And may we live to be 120 in good health, of course. Please stay tuned so you can listen to this interview in Spanish. Ya prontito. Gracias.